the Git, the lad, the war chief himself, Brian Seipp. Now, he's the master of just being in, showing up to the UK events and just stomping Gits out with really odd lists. So I should give that to some context to you Gits going forward. Anybody who's watching this, just know this guy, it does have his own, his own aura, his own wall energy, right? We guys all know that every different, war boss and chief come with their own style, right? So this is for inspiration, not necessarily copying directly, but we do have some insight on how this could work. It was fun to see, and there were other similar lists that we've seen throughout the weekend at other events even. So I thought it was a good archetype to talk about going forward, see if it ends up showing up or if the end meta is able to adjust the style. Was it a UKTC thing? We do actually have the missions for the rounds that he went through. He did go 7 rounds, so I'm not going to make this too drawn out and like drain out every single matchup he did, but I will cover them and give a little bit of thoughts, right? I don't play UKTC, so I can't really put together exactly how I would game plan it, but we'll give it some love you get. All right, so let's go over the lads list. We have Ghazghkull Thraka as the warlord, of course, coming in with the Big Mek and Follow Me Lads combo. Of course, we're sticking Follow Me Lads on there, sticking the Big Mek on there, and then you don't have to put the Gits in the wagon, right? A lot of time people are, if they're looking at this and they don't play Orks, they assume that the gas brick is going to go in the wagon, right? Not only does not that fit properly, but you need to be on the table for Here We Go, and you do want that additional movement ability, right? So you're going to just be on the field, taking up the big center, staging up with this brick, ready to get stuck in, move down the middle center of the field. Then you got 2 war bosses, boom, nice and clean. Shout out to you, Brian. I actually appreciate that a lot. A lot of the times when you're looking at these war horde lists, some of our fellow Gits are either getting out of hand or maybe that's right. Maybe that's the right amount of Gits, I'm not sure yet, but there's a lot of time where you'll end up seeing 650 point lists of characters, 6-7 characters on these war horde lists. And I'm not necessarily saying that's wrong. I'm saying that I appreciate that he was able to narrow it down to just 2 war bosses. Then he just has 1 20-man unit of boys. I love that. Just 1 battle line. 2 units of Breaka Boyz, followed by 2 10-man units of Flash Gitz. This is the odd, weird tech here as well, Gitz. He did bring the 2 big bricks of them. They did come down. 20-man units of boys didn't, but the Flash Gitz did, so he decided to get stuck in with them Daka Gitz. Then we have the 5-man unit of Flash Gitz as well, probably for a SWAT team availability, and then a Burner Boy, probably just for the point cost SWAT team availability as well. There is a custom Mega Blaster on the Spanner, though. Just keep it in mind. Then we have 2 minimum sized units of Gretchen. Kind of can't let people get behind you with this kind of list that you have. So very much screening your backfield, and then if you have the ability and flexibility, the other one's going to go try to get up the field or be used for trash screening. 2 Nobz units with power claws. That's most likely where the war bosses are going. Now, if you're wondering why that is, it comes down to when you're playing War Horde, the Breaka Boyz can get stuff done on their own. And Breaka Boyz on their own, just being in War Horde, getting sustained, getting into some ideal targets. And non-ideal target would be a 2-up armor save with an armor of contempt, right? But anything outside of that, that's like a light, medium armor vehicle, Breaka Boy unit is reliable to take it out. But a Nobz unit very much needs the war boss to function. So if you're wondering, yes, that's where the 2 war bosses went. They got stuck on the 2 5-man units of Nobz. And then you have 2 battle wagons with all the fixins, arcades, cannons, lavas, big shooters, everything. Love to see it. Now, we call, how we have, or the Orc community has the SWAT teams where you take your truck and you put 2 units that fit inside of it for a number of 12, right? Now we have these Blitza Wagons is what we're calling these, right? Blitz brigades, stuff like that, where you're filling up these wagons with multiple units. It's a trifecta of units in this way, right? So you can take 10 Flash Gitz, 1 of the Breaka Boy units, and then 1 of the Nobz units with the war boss. 22. There you go. You essentially stuck a truck into the truck. Boom, you were there. 1 character war boss, with the Nobz. The 6-man unit of Breakas would be another 6, so then that'd be at 12, and then you have 10 Flash Gitz. Boom, 22. So then you can fit both of that combo, duplicated, redundant. Bam, stick that up on the field, on the flanks, essentially, or just maybe, depending on the layout, supporting alongside middle Ghaz to pick up his ability. So there you go. Now that's in as the list would look in your head. That's how it works. The enemy has a very hard time unless they can really just pop one wagon, getting to all of your assets right away. Because they have to pop a wagon, the units can jump out in different spots on the field. They're centralized, and you can put them layer out through the enemy at your own will. And like we always say, orcs like to get the initiative. Actually pick the engagements that are ideal. In this case, okay, this guy pops out for this job. This unit pops out. Okay, it's all go turn. Everybody staged up. Double wagon support. We got the remember, like we always talk about as orc players community, when it comes to our durability or our reliability, you need redundancy. Redundancy is key. So I like the redundancy he's brought here. Good amount of just as we orcs can do it, AP can do, AP built into this list. So shout out to that. Now we're actually going to take a chance to look at his actual path to victory. Let me make sure I get this pulled up for you live, Gitz, because the Big Mek's not doing nothing. Let's see. We have what's up, guys? What's up to the live chat, by the way, to you, Gitz? Everybody excited. Yeah, double wagons, right? You guys let me know right now in chat. Do you guys appreciate double wagons? Would you really feel comfortable bringing that on the field? Do you even own that? It's funny because I'm always like, man, that gets expensive combos. People assume, you're automatically paying for this big 500-point combo. No way you're going to bring for more big packages. Well, in this case, you are, but you're cutting it down by piecemeal. So I really like that idea. It makes it so deliverable for your whole army on one go turn, and compact. Right, and it's just like the enemy can't really pick you apart, which really happens to us a lot when they end up losing. But now we're seeing a lot that wagons are showing up on a lot of the lists. Like I said, when we started this, at least over this weekend, will that pan out for the rest of the weeks coming forward? Right. So, and I'm getting this pull up, guys. Let me get this up. All right, pull up, guys. So, like I said, we have a Ghaz team event, America, the Champion Challengers Cup, excuse me, and then for the second list, it's no gas singles in the UK London GT event, where he used no gas and it went 4-1. So let us know. And then the team guy went 5-0. So let me know as we move through Brian's list. Now let's get stuck in with this one, guys, because I was pretty excited. I'm happy to see orcs are doing well. Such a weird list, and we actually do have his do have the missions, right? And yes, the boys are on foot to you guys. People looks like they're liking the wagons. Yes, they're seeing a lot of double wagons. Easy to deploy. That's a good point. Yeah, right. Easy to decide where you're going to stay safe, and if someone can pop you with exaggerated lines of fire, lines of sight they got to take where you can disembark. So it's kind of it fits our style, right? Because then everything's deliverable. So here we go. He made it into the top, near the top bracket. I think he made it to the top cut. Shout out to you, Git, right here, as we can see. So let's go over path to victory. I have the mission pack open. Sorry, guys, got to make sure I have it all set out here. We have the missions pack open and I have them written down. So let's take a look here. With our Git. So first on his list, I did that right. Yep, yes I did. First on his list was Necrons Scatterstar. So this was mission Terraform. Let me show the actual mission pack. Here we go. So of course, like I said, not familiar with UKTC necessarily, like I played on it, but I still wanted to at least show you Gits that are familiar with what they're playing on. So he was playing Terraform round 1 to begin Star Shatter. So we have the Nightbringer, the Emotech, the Stormlord, Technomancer, and the Silent King. 1 Reanimator, 1 Brick of Wraith, 2 Doomsday Arc, 1 5-man units of Flayed One for the infiltration, 2 individual Locusts, 1 Lich Guard unit, and then 2 minimum size units of Ophidian Destroyer. So here are little deep strikers, little skirmishers, trash scoring units, infiltrators, some long range support, and then their 1 big brick if I don't die with a reanimator, and then Silent King support with a Necron shard. Now, of course, he did pop a big 97-point win there. Like I said, I'm not going to unpack every single one right away because it's early. We have a lot of rounds to get through. But I think as we've shown before by the numbers, the Ghaz brick on itself cracks the Wraith brick, no problem. The Silent King, no problem. A lot of the time, Necrons want to bait you out and then just delete you and say, well, you can't do that again to me. In this case, orcs have a lot of layers of if they make contact with almost anything on that list, they're able to crack it. The Nightbringer hypothetically could be of annoyance, but as for denying scoring or in that case, or if someone wants to focus it down, Brian in that case, just the amount of punches he could have with crit 5 punches lethal is enough to help bring him down. The Flash Gitz popping lethal sustain in that case. Just remember, his list has a ton of lethal sustain. The Flash Gitz pop an ammo run, here's lethal shooting sustain, and then if they get into a fight and they're near gas, it's lethal sustain. Each Flash Git has built in 4 attacks, and then the wall they would go up to 5, their base strength 5, and then up to 6. So there's just enough strength to just pop, crunch anything in the Necrons, at least wounding on 5s, and just put that saturation of volume on the Necron. So there's just too many layers, and that really is always a Necron problem, right? Plus they have to try to pop those wagons. They can't really fast enough to prop all those lines of fire. One boat can't reliably do it. And then Orcs just make contact because Necrons try to stat check you, you know, and I've always felt like that's a not necessarily favorable matchup, but it's always a workable matchup for Orcs because they do try to take it on the chin, right? And if you won't take it on the chin, we'll knock your teeth out. So then we go to a second matchup. Look at me getting all excited. All right, second matchup. We have Astra Militarum. Let me show the mission. So we have Purge the Foe. Shout out to Purge the Foe. As you can see here, I think you guys can see my finger in the middle. They have these 2 big L staging. You know, it's known for, hey, this layout is kind of good to walk up and stage up to some degree, but then once you come out into the open, you're kind of getting docked up. So something to keep in mind, but you know, he's had some good pressure on his list. Now that's I had the Necron still up. Let me take this out. There we go. So now we're back to the Astra Militarum. So we have Cascadian Castellan command squad. There we go. Catachan command squad, and then an Ogryn bodyguard. So he has a big old durable kind of reviving the Ogryn, taking the punches. It wants to move a little forward. It can be used as kind of like a third layer. Then we have Rogel Dorns, 2 of them of the commanders, 1 big brick of Cadian Shock, followed by another Time unit, 2 units of Catachan jungle fighters. Remember, they do have a scout, followed by 2 chimeras. So if they jump in there, the chimeras can jump forward too. So that's where they create that screen and the guard. They brought back the Bolgrin bricks. The Bolgrin. Now, the Bolgrin do have a respectable stat line into Orcs generally. Their toughness, I think, gets up to 6. But when you bring this kind of War Horde, you know, I can come and stat check you. I think the Brute Shield is a 2 up armor save one. Let me make sure on that. But yeah, this is another one where, well, if you're gonna take if you're gonna take it on the chin from us as Orcs, you better have the stats behind it. And in this case, because of Ghaz, almost nothing can stand up to that. Now, let me keep going through with this. I do respect that style though. I know they have 6 of Feel No Pain, 6 of Feel No Pain, and separate damage 1. Then they are running the brute shields are the 4 up invulns. So he has 5 brute shields, 5 brute shields. So the brute shields are the 4 up invulns, meaning that he is highly susceptible to volume. And these guys, the slab shield now is only a 4 wound characters, so they do not have the 2 up armor save anymore. Good that I double checked. Grant, fantastic. Which is something that saturation of wounds is something you can get through on them. We're just trying to pull off here, right? Because like I said, even though we did talk about, well, Flash Gitz are going to have their damage mitigated to 1, yes, but they can actually get up to strength 6 on the punches. Their guns are already strength 6. Not to mention, you have the boys that could run in and run right through them with Ghaz on their own. So they're not meeting that stat check line when you can just put the volume through it. They have the 4 up invulns. It's fine. They do the 6 of Feel No Pain. Then we have 3 units of Ghazghkull. So this is, I blow right through you and I keep on going. As much as I'd like to say exactly how he would play this on what turn he would, I'm not sure. Just because I'm not used to this layout, but it would be, I need to punch through your lines quickly before you deteriorate my army, because it's not necessarily, you know, that durable once it starts to disembark. But when it makes contact with multiple targets, all those infantry, the Bolgrin, you know, some of those chimeras, like I said, your either Nobz or your Breaka Boyz now have potential to easily swipe away these chimeras if they have to get into contact with any of them. So as long as you make contact with a lot of different models, you know, from the guard, you don't have to necessarily kill the Rogel Dorn commanders. A lot of times newer players will say, well, how do I kill the Rogel Dorn commanders? I got to get to them. Well, just kill everything else. If you can't score, you can't play the game, it doesn't really necessarily matter that I didn't kill your Rogel Dorn. So 92-point game there, right there. He had all the stats, the points, the numbers, you know, stat lines to meet that Bolgrin wave. So then moves on to game 3. Mind you, the game, I said, did I say what it was? I said it was Purge the Foe. Yeah, last game was Purge the Foe. Now this one is round 3, which he's going into the Black Templars. So let's pull this down. Round 3, hidden supplies. Yeah, that's what I got written down. Okay, hidden supplies. Let's go. Saturation of objective markers and a search and destroy deployment. Keep in mind he doesn't have infiltrators of any sort, no Snickra, no commandos. He's just straight up, I'm all the meat, I'm right in your face. So let's see how that we'll see how that works out. Well, actually, I guess we already did see, right? We could see this. Let me clear out some of these. There we go. So now we move on to the Black Templar. We have a triple Castellans, followed by a Emperor's Champion, Lieutenant in Phobos, one Lieutenant in Combi Weapon, and then triple Marshals. Goodness. He went crazy on them character lists. All right, one Assault Intercessor Squad, followed by double Impulsors, one Lancer, one Cursor Squad, 2 Executioners. Okay, sorry, I was just making sure I was reading this those again. They do have the heavy las destroyer, reliable. 3 minimum size unit of sword brethren, and then 1 Cladius assassin. So the Cladius assassin does get rough, where it's like, okay, well now I was paying 3 CP, for fight on death, and okay, now 2 CP for critical fire pluses. Luckily, you don't have to overkill these these Black Templars units, even though they are very killy on their own. They'll blend you up, mind you. Sword Brethren with the Castellan definitely do work. Then of course you have repulsor executioners, always have a degree of like volume of shots, and they can hypothetically pose some risk battle wagons, but as long as they can't put like Lancer and a Gladiator Lancer on there with Oath, and probably that Incursor squad for +1 to hit, that would be like okay, that wagon's probably getting popped. Other than that, this is very much always important on how you're setting up your screens, who's fighting who, CP discipline, of course, understanding the fight phase, how to make those guys fight with units they don't want to actually get into fights with, like a battle wagon, forcing the Ford Brethren to fight battle wagons and let your Nobz fight something, or if you're not your Nobz, be taken out with them. That 5-man unit, stop the 20-man Ghaz unit from getting just completely blended. But if you do, at least make sure you take out some of those tanks if you can. Nonetheless, what I will say is he did get a 100-point win there. And this was the round 3 layout for search and destroy. So it might have been that he was just stuck it to him, right? It just it might be that you just stuck. Sometimes you got to do that. You just got to do it because they're not really that. They're very, very elite. I mean, when he's running that many characters, it's you kind of just got to get stuck in. Flash Gitz have the perfect profiles into all those data sheets, right? You'll end up trying to Overwatch if you can. If you Overwatch some of those Sword Brethren, they're just not really that useful anymore. So even though yes, they are super killy, our stuff isn't expected to survive. It's just meant to trade out with you, and they cannot keep that up. So when you just have that much stuff and you have that, it's always about pulling bodies off of them as much as you can as an orc player, just because eventually they just run out of steam when you're going into that kind of Space Marine matchup, fighting on death at a key time with the key unit. If they try to get in blend that Big Boyz unit, so then we go, and because you're not critical 5+ is still nice when if you can get it off like into Sword Brethren from 5 Nobz, sure, but otherwise they're not, none of these guys are durable. Like they're all getting crumbed, right? And Repulsor is not an not a Land Raider necessarily, but 100-point win there. Shout out to him. Let's go into his 4th game. Shout out to Tyler Howells. What's up, homie? War to the Great Wall. Thank you for becoming a member. Shout out to you. Then we go to his 4th matchup was into the Tau Empire. Now let's look at his. I'm making sure I erase these guys so I don't get one by stuff. Then we go into Tau Empire game 4, which is Linchpin. Shout out I actually really enjoy Linchpin. I like when people have to care about their home objective. That's just me. So then we go into Tau. Okay. Well, I wonder how this works. I wonder how this works honestly against Tau. So someone let me know UKTC, because what I hear is pretty shooty. Tau and UK, this one you're like, all right, I'm glad I got some DACA too. I'm sure I'm sure he's happy about that. So we go Commander Farsight, Commander Enforcer battle suits, 2 of them, 2 strike squads, 1 knife fight fire suit, 2 star scythes, 1 Sunforge, a ghost keel, 2 crew rampagers, triple riptides. Oh, Triptide's back, boys. And then 2 stealth suits and only 1 Vespid unit. So Vespid for their deep strike and then their shenanigans. Infiltration from the stealth, riptides for the triptides, rampagers, mortal wounds on the charge, good fighting, volume. your flashes do work them though. I think they have 5 wounds apiece. They don't really get good saves. And you can't really let them make contact with you because they'll mess you up. So these guys are fun guys to shoot with your Flash Gitz for sure. I think they're also T5 or 6, T6, I think. But yeah, that being said, I think they are, like what I remember. Not a ton of that like forward momentum screening on this. I wonder if that's really what you would want to be into play here. But remember, Tau does have I have to focus you down. Always play hyper aggressive into them. They are Xenos just like us, so they want to create the wall, trade bodies for points, focus, priority down the targets that are going to blend them too fast, and then just outpoint you and take position on you. Especially as a fellow Xeno. So you as an Orc player is about getting the initiative, running through them, not letting them get it to the late game and be powering up like that. So shout out to him, 87-point win there. Let's move to the 5th game. Make sure I'm counting these down. You get 5th game right here, where he goes into Necrons again, like we spoke about in his Scatter Star. So we got command bars, so he can give kind of like buffs on his own. I think he's like a -1 to wound, or is -2 damage. Don't remember. A Hexmark Destroyer, Orkin the Diviner. Oh, I haven't seen that guy in a while, long time actually. Overlord of the Transcendent Shroud, a Technomancer, and then Silent King. Goodness, was that like 700 points characters? A big brick of 20 warriors. Ooh, who's getting crumped by Ghaz and the lads, boy? Oh, I would absolutely love to see that. Like, oh, you got 20 warriors? Oh, okay. And raids? Yeah, I love to see that. Okay, so we got raids right there. Crypto Thralls to go alongside those warriors. 2 Doomsday Arcs, Flayed one, 2 Locust Destroyers, and Ophidian Destroyer. So love to see it in the sense that this would be fun trying to meet those lines. Now, good part is Ghaz can absolutely pop one of these units. The issue is they can't pop both simultaneous. So you would need to play the fight phase proper, of course, as it get. Keep in mind, I don't always, you do have to make contact with the Necrons, but it's actually most important that you do it when they don't get on objective. If I can get my wagons to charge into those bricks to hold them back, I'm very much doing that. And then Wraiths are going crumping, his, either mid objective with those Wraiths or his natural expansion, whatever you decide to put them. Because I'd much rather rip the Wraiths off the table on my go turn than, necessarily the Warriors in that case. But of course, you do have a Silent King as well. But there's a lot of other units that he has on his list. The Warriors might be something that my Flash Gitz go into instead, right? Where I use them to shoot, maybe charge into them, good profile to punch him, good volumes. They only need 1 wound of punches each. They can stay stuck in a fight with them. They don't mind. There's a lot of bodies. So that one would be pretty nice to see. This is a kind of pretty fun matchup, in my opinion, what it looks like. But did I show? No, I didn't. And as for the 5th one, it was actually taken hold. Another search and destroy one. So very much aggro if you can make it there. He did end up getting a 71-point win there, so it wasn't as much as he wanted. Maybe he went second. Not necessarily sure which one's on that. Maybe his issue of staying on objectives, because you are able to get cleaned up on those with those Necrons if they you try to play it out with them a little bit. So 71 points there, but then he moves into the 6th game. So we get 5th game, 71. So then he moves into the 6th game, which is going into the Drukhari. And this was Terraform. So let's take a look at Terraform on that one. Boom, it shows red. That's how you know on the big boy rounds here. Oh, look at that. Okay. Goodness. I wish I've sometimes I wish I have played it, and then sometimes I'm not. Chad, you let me know. Do you ever wish you play on UKTC, or do you ever like I'm not exactly sure how that would go, but let's move it. Let's look at the Drukhari. Now I think they're getting a book, so not too much time on that. So 2 Archons, 1 Beastmaster, which is that scouting, running up and trying to move blocky type of unit. Lilix, and then a Rockhearth, 2 units of Warriors, 1 Witch, 1 Raider, 2 Venoms, Court of the Archons, double of them, 1 unit of Grotesque, Hellions, double Mandrake, Scourges, and then some allied troops. Is this New Drukhari? I don't think it's New Drukhari. I don't think they came out necessarily yet. Oops. All right, cool. And for that one, he got a 100-point list. Very gentle, very soft, right? Now, I know they do have their shenanigans to not be overwatched and such, but again, having a little bit of Flash Git, perfect profiles into them. And Flash Gits are expendable, guys, right? Why I use them is because the enemy will prioritize them as a target, but ultimately it's a 160-point unit. So you have these big bricks of what would be similar to Boy's wounds with the better armor save. Of course, they're in 2 damage. They're 2 wounds. So 2 damage, weapons, they are susceptible to it, but the interactions they get on the field, the multiple activations here, and then the being able to multi-fight charge, shoot these same targets, draw the same profile tensions away from the boys, disembark from the wagons with big boatload of wounds, and then let the SWAT, what would be considered SWAT team styles of the Nobz and the Breaka Boyz, go around and pick their ideal targets to get fights in and trades on with strats, right? Flash Gitz are working independently. They don't really care about the strats. They just want to stand near Ghaz. They just want to get the War Horde sustain, and they end up getting really good pro matchups into anything on this Drukhari list, and that kind of support. So I love to see that. And then we move into his last game, which was on Purge the Foe into Emperor's Children. So let's take a look at that. Boom. Now, Emperor's Children is actually one of those tricky matchups. I think when you're an Orc player and you haven't played them before, I know when I first went to them, I was like kind of like, oh, what the heck? So let's look at their list real quick. We have Demon Prince with Wings of Slanesh, 2 of those, and then one Lord triple Lord Exultant, sorry, followed by a Lord, whatever this name is, and then Lucius the Eternal. Triple Infractors, they work a lot like Legionnaires, where they get to reroll wounds if you're on an objective. So either way, it said that he said it in this one. He did end up conceding, but Orc still should know. Yes, I was supposed to say that too, guys, after I went over it, but he did end up having to concede it, as it was a shadow round and he couldn't play this. But I do still think can be an interesting matchup and difficult matchup for Orcs if you're not used to it, even though I wouldn't say it's a bad match. That's because they want to do what we do, similar to what we do, but they can get the initiative on us. But we'll talk about that. So we have triple Infractors, which they end up acting the Legionnaire bricks, or what you would consider as a boy mob with a war boss, right? Or little missiles, they're cheap, they want to fight on objectives, their character goes supercharged once per game, and such. They jump out of rhinos in that case, access to advance and charge. They do have stipulations to these advance and charges or advancing and shooting, where they can't declare like the same units to do the same things or multiple units, but they can still jump out of these transports where they're going to stage, which you can see very much easily, like we do with our trucks, disembark, run into you. They have a flawless unit, 3 units of Noise Marines, which typically do have the volume to actually hurt you and shoot out the rhinos if they want to as well. And then the Demon Princes are fast enough to get up the field, choose their targets, and such like that. And then what's also kind of funny about them is when they do continue the game into you as an Orc player, if you let them fight too many of your assets, they can supercharge themselves so they're even more killy as the game goes on, which can end up kind of burning through your assets too quickly if you're playing an also elite style Orc list. Now, they do have weaknesses into like vehicles and high toughness. They are pricey. They can get traded out with fights on death. So I wouldn't say they're a bad list for Orcs, but just keep in mind that he did get to these last matchups and these last rounds, and that player still had to that player was still there as well. So shout out to that guy, even though they didn't get to have their game, and shout out to Brian Seipp anyways. But Orcs, all in all, not bad matchup into Emperor's Children, but something you should be aware. So with that being said, let's take a look at his list one more time. Hopefully I don't take too long on that. We have Ghazghkull Thraka, Big Mek with Follow Me lads. Remember, they have to be on the field. So typically, yes, you just stick them right in the middle of the field behind one of those big pieces of terrain, like as we were showing, and all these layouts, right? That's what's valuable, is when you play on this UKTC, you can see he always has somewhere kind of pretty safe to stage in. Now, if he stands inside of here, he gets lines of fire. You could argue there could be open up some lines of fire, but he gets staged quite safely for the most part in this middle terrain piece for most of his missions and most of that UKTC terrain layout, even though it is known for being shooty. Then jump out there, run through screens, hit people's back lines, valuable units. I love to see that. 2 Breaka Boy units, two 10-man unit Flash Gitz, 2 5-man units of 1 Flash Gitz, 1 Burner Boy, and then 2 minimum-sized unit Gretchen, 2 Nobz with power claws to go inside those war bosses, and then 2 units of battle wagons. So also for the Burner Boys, probably going into your reserves, in my opinion. If you guys want to know what I would think if you're wondering about those. I have been using Burner Boys. They're all right. Maybe a points thing. If you don't, not something I necessarily say you have to bring, but they're all right. They do their thing. But shout out to Brian Seipp going 6-1. Whoa, for the Great War, showing the War Chief love and getting it done. Another thing to check out is our sponsor, the Baron of Dice. They make high quality custom dice. If you enjoy our content and want to show some love, check out the Baron of Dice custom dice, including Wall Tactics official dice. To support us, use our discount code in the description for 5% off, because nobody likes taxes. If you enjoyed the clip, check out the full video here. If you'd like to see more tactics, click here.
Let's get stuck in, lads!